Pandemic was to start with bad for the world. It is still bad for the world. But I think it came as a blessing in disguise for those foreign workers who are in Canada. Either they are on open postgraduate work permit or on an LMIA based work permit, they are being invited under the CEC category, Canadian Experience Class category.
Hey everyone, welcome to Darpan Dialogue. With the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been speculation that there might be some policy changes coming to immigration. Well, to find out whether that's the case and to get some answers to your questions, we're joined by Rakesh Sharma. He's an immigration consultant with Alliance Immigration in Surrey. Mr. Sharma, hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you for asking. So, Labour Market Impact Assessment, or commonly known as LMIA, there's been speculation that it might be cancelled or put on hold, and this is a policy that is very popular among businesses because it helps them find skilled labour or skilled workers from foreign countries when they can't find that locally here. So what exactly are the changes that you've been hearing?
Great question. LMIAs, as you yourself put it, is of critical importance to meet Canada's labour needs. The employers all across Canada, most of them depend upon the LMIA stream to hire their local labour needs. And when they don't get a suitable Canadian or permanent resident to occupy that position, which they need to fill in, and then they depend upon the temporary foreign workers. There is a lot of speculation in the market that LMIAs have been cancelled, which is not the case per se. There is a list that is published by Service Canada that is called Refusal to Process list. So in the low wage categories, especially in the hospitality and accommodation industry as well as in the retail industry, Service Canada is refusing to process certain low wage occupations because they want Canadians, because these are entry-level jobs. They don't want even Canadians not to be considered for the entry-level jobs that don't require too much of education or experience. Right. So they will not process any applications if your advertised occupation or the applied occupation falls in those categories. Regarding the high wage occupations and high skill occupations, Service Canada is not refusing to process. They are accepting the applications even as we talk. But question is, they are implementing certain changes, including increased recruitment activity, and they are giving options to employers. If their situation has changed, they can withdraw the application, or they can also agree to the increased advertisement if the ads were placed after a certain cutoff date.
I see. So that's what's going on. That's the latest on that. They haven't been stopped by the government.
No, they haven't been stopped by. In fact, there are certain occupations in the farming industry, in the fish processing industry, where they have waived even the advertisement requirement.
Great.
Yeah, they said you simply give the LMIA application without even advertising for the local people.
Right, so they're wanting to help people out during the pandemic.
In certain sectors. Yeah.
Great, great, fantastic. So when we come to the foreign workers side of things, what sort of changes are we seeing with COVID, with temporary foreign workers in Canada, and have the changes been made to make life easier for them?
One of the very welcome changes that I've just come across 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, is that immigration has allowed some temporary foreign workers, if they have another LMIA from another employer, or they can always submit their application for a work permit. Suppose somebody is going from employer A to employer B, and the employer B has already procured a positive LMIA from Service Canada. Previously, they used to apply for online application for a work permit and then wait for 3-4 months before application was processed. Immigration has now clarified that a temporary foreign worker wanting to change the employers, they can also submit the application online, give them the file number. Within 10 days, immigration would allow them to start working with the new employer regardless of the final outcome on the submitted application. So they will decide later on whether the application will be refused or accepted, but in the meantime, the temporary foreign worker would not be sitting at home wanting for the processing to be over before they can join the job. So that's a very welcome development. They can start working within 10 days. Within 10 days, or even less than 10 days, we just had a case where approval was given within 4 days, and the temporary foreign worker went to work for the new employer. That saves about 3 to 4 months' time. That's huge.
That is huge when you're adapting to life in Canada.
Yes, and many temporary foreign workers, they are, if they have the LMIAs from the same employer and their previous work permit is expiring, they submit the application and they can continue working with the same employer, because under the implied status, you can continue to work with the same employer on the same terms and conditions. So their life will be same as usual.
Speaking of Express Entry, another very, very popular program, yeah, well known within the community. What's happening with the whole situation there? Are they moving points? Who's gaining? Who's losing? How does that work?
Express Entry pool has candidates from all over the world. With the pandemic, after the pandemic broke out, I think those people who gained, it was bad. Pandemic was to start with bad for the world. It is still bad for the world. But I think it came as a blessing in disguise for those foreign workers who are in Canada. Either they are on open postgraduate work permit or on an LMIA based work permit. If they have completed minimum 1 year of skilled work in Canada and they have very good English and their points in Express Entry pool of candidates are good enough, they are being invited under the CEC category, Canadian Experience Class category. So since March, the points are coming down continuously. From 467, the last draw was at 437, which has come as a blessing in disguise, as I put it, for many, many people. So they don't need LMIAs, they don't need a PNP, most of them who are having good English and they have good experience. And if their points are in the range of 440, 435, 437 or above, they are being invited by IRCC to make a direct application under Express Entry for permanent residence.
All these adjustments are very positive with most programs.
For the workers in Canada with Canadian experience, yes, because they have to have Canadian work experience for minimum 1 year, even to be eligible under that CEC stream, Canadian Experience Class stream. So those people are getting benefit out of these points being coming down drastically.
Right. Okay. And then, of course, when it comes to students, those who've always been wanting to come and, international students, they've been wanting to pursue their dreams in Canada, but due to COVID, they might feel that that's not going to happen. What sort of changes are there with the international student side of things and immigration? Should they be worried?
I don't think so. Students, international students who are headed to Canada, but they can't make it to Canada because of travel restrictions currently in place, they are allowed by the Canadian government to start their studies online, sitting in the comfort of their homes overseas. And what is more interesting is that their eligibility for the award of post-graduation work permit, which they are entitled to if they complete certain if they meet certain conditions post the completion of their degree or diploma or certificate in Canada, it will not be affected, that eligibility will not be affected even if they are sitting at home and studying online, which is very welcome development for international students. And it has not really, it has not only helped Canada, but all over international students from all over the globe, because the interest in Canada of the international student community, it remains intact.
Great. So we're still seen as a great nation to come and be a part of and pursue higher education.
Yes, especially with the US banning all the H-1B visas, I think we are slated for another increase in immigration.
Fantastic. So for those who do have their visas and you're saying everything is online, how does the September intake work in terms of enrollment?
Like I said, they would be mostly studying online.
So
everything will be online. If the travel restrictions go away, in the meantime, definitely students would be allowed to come back to Canada, would be allowed to travel to Canada to study in person.
Fantastic. So if people wanted more information, is there a website that they can go to?
For general information, they can always log on to www.cic.gc.ca. Even our office, we are very diligently responding to all the questions and inquiries that come our way. They can always approach us on 604-593-2922 or 604-726-4513.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe.